No, I'll give him a 10. Mainly because of what he said, you know, the support and he buys a lot of shares from the designer.
Righty. Let's talk more about the black dress with the white roses. Right. Leonie, what were your thoughts?
I thought the flowering was a bit overpowering. I actually didn't quite like it. But I loved that it was local. Loved Evie's work. Not convinced with this one though.
And out of 10?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's not make sure. Let's
not make sure.
Okay, Palisa?
I thought it was a lovely dress for an award ceremony, not necessarily for this occasion, but a beautiful dress, a beautiful lady, and I love the message. I can't remember what she was saying. It was a couple of people ago, but 10 out of 10 for an award ceremony. For this one, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And then the Tsonga-inspired attire.
The Tsonga-inspired attire.
Yes. What did you think?
I thought I enjoyed the effort.
Perfect.
Really enjoyed that. Gele gets a 10 out of 10. The rest I will let my designers do.
What were your thoughts?
I like the play of the different fabrics.
Okay.
I mean, there was a play of about 4 different fabrics. There was the Tsonga fabric, it was the lace. I mean, there was a lining there, and I like the fact that the person that made the dress also understands the bust, because the lady's got a bit of a bigger bust, and I like the fact that they made the right cup size. You see a whole lot of dresses, like the black and white that you're talking about. It wasn't sitting right on the bust. It was almost like it's falling off on the shoulders. The flowers at the bottom were a bit of a mixed match. So for me, I would go for the blue dress more than the black and white dress.
Alright. And out of 10?
I think I'll give it a 10.
Oh.
Is that a 10?
Wow.
I've got my reasons for...
You can see some of the percentages there. And guests are still arriving. Let's talk about Minister Gayton McKenzie. Sinda, what were your thoughts?
I couldn't really hear him, but I think the outfit was cute.
Okay.
But as Valisa said, I think you could push more to accessorize it, give it like an African beat, something.
Someone needs to stand in there, like a brooch. Yeah, like a little beaded, just a touch of Africa.
Okay. And out of 10, Matsile?
I mean, I think I'll give him 10 out of 10 for what he said.
Okay.
I like the fact that, again, he's pro South Africa.
Okay.
Can we work on improving our economy? Let's grow our economy. For me, I can never stop stressing that enough. If we buy local, and I'm gonna keep on reiterating the same thing. Buy local, let's grow our economy.
All right. And overall, let's talk about the outfits that we have seen. All right.
I think for me it's not really about the outfits. I think it's about the overall attempt. It seems like 99% of the people on the carpet were wearing local. Was it good? Was it bad? It really depends. So I think the overall carpet gets a 10 out of 10. People really tried. We heard a lot of South African punches. So the support is out there. It just needs to spread.
And Leonie, you of the same opinion?
Yes, similar. Fashion is so subjective, right? But for me, Pretoria won. There was a lot of Tshwane, a lot of Amapiano, a lot of... and then I'm wondering if everyone got the "we are wearing blue" memo.
Okay. Now you can see guests are still entering there. Of course, then, I mean, overall, do we then say that they've done it justice? Did members and guests are you wearing local justice?
I feel like with the initiative that Proudly South Africa has been pushing for quite some time, this year there's more people wearing local design.
Yes, definitely.
So the message is
the message is good.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that they're getting scolded all the time to say, guys, let's support local, let's do local. And it's beautiful to see that more and more people came out wearing South African brands.
I'm told that Tammy has one more person for us. Hold still. Let's go back to Tammy on the red carpet.
Sure.
I mean, like, it's funny how 2 hours just goes by so quickly with just like observing these beautiful garments. I'm standing next to a very lovely woman. I would call her one of the ambassadors of wearing local. It's the DSG of the African National Congress. And no, she's not a stranger. Mom, Nomvula.
Thank you very much. I'm here affirming again my commitment to being a patriotic South African. My hair, my facial done by two young women from Khayelitsha. The suit that I'm wearing is a statement, because ordinarily it's supposed to be a pinstripe suit with a jacket and a pair of pants, but I've gone feminine.
I'm looking at it.
And the reason is a pinstripe suit is said to be representing authority, decisiveness, and leadership. I'm a leader.
How important is supporting local
It's quite
and creating jobs?
It's quite important, because the two young women, particularly working also with Entle, have been able now to get something that they had earned out of this effort. Secondly, we are growing the economy, because part of what they must now do is to continue beyond doing for Nomvula. Because once people see Nomvula being dressed by them, other people will also make an attempt of reaching out to them. This is but part of promotion of the capacity of South Africa. We're quite an amazing nation. Who thought you can have a pinstripe suit in this particular fashion?
We've been talking the whole day about G20 and so many different programs. We're at the center of it. How are we going to increase the conversation around fashion and the multiple opportunities?
We must revitalize our textile industry, because it collapsed because of foreign goods. We need to, in that industrial policy and the prioritization of industry, of industrialization and manufacturing. This is one of the very important ones. Remember also the beautiful thing about fashion is that you do what you like and you wear it in the manner that you want it, and therefore everybody has to apply his or her mind, and everybody has to give him or herself time, and thereafter you all celebrate.
I love the fact that you supported South African produced outfits and South African designers. You look absolutely stunning. Can you turn around for me one more time? She spoke about us revitalizing the economy and revitalizing the clothing and textile industry. I'm looking forward to some of the programs that you guys are going to develop, especially also with women, because I know you're passionate on women issues. You're passionate with inclusion as well, the LGBTQI community.
Yes. I'm looking forward to the statement that is going to be presented by the President. And for us, whether Sona or no Sona, we must remain committed to being patriotic and raise the flag by supporting everyone, because South Africa belongs to all those who live in it.
You look absolutely stunning. You rock this outfit.
Thank you.
Do you think I can have it when you're done with it today?
Anytime soon.
We'll exchange. I'll give you my spelani.
The problem is the color.
The problem is the color. I mean, we're talking color. Your colors.
But I don't come okay with an orange color. I'm a pink and a yellow girl.
She's a pink and a yellow girl. I know you guys in the studio are talking about trends and everything else that is all colors. Mam Nomvula looks absolutely. I can pick up. Yes. This is the accreditation. Not that she needs one, but yes. She's looking absolutely stunning. Thank you for joining us on the carpet. And please continue to push the message of buying local and supporting local at Sona. Stick to it. We're going to discuss your look now. They're in studios. Guys, you heard her. She says we must speak. Can you believe that we've seen so many beautiful garments here at literally at the State of the Nation Address 2025, and we're about to end our live crossing here at the Parliament. And before we end our live, we just wanted to grab the portfolio chairperson of communications, Ms. Kusela Diko, to talk to us about the importance of communicating fashion. We're at Parliament. Third installation.
Yes, and you're looking absolutely fabulous as always.
You're looking fabulous. Who are you dressed by?
I'm dressed by Inami Vuyangona. The State of the Nation is very, very important, but I think more than anything, just in terms of the economic buzz that it brings, local designers are out here doing amazing things, and we have to help them and support them, not only during the State of the Nation, but generally. It's an everyday thing, looking hot, eh?
How are you going to ensure that in your world of communication and all these platforms that we have, we are able to spread that message, number one? How are we going to influence that big message also as part of the plans that we have for our G20 with some of the friends that we have within the summit? What role can comms really play?
It can play a lot, hey? I mean, at the end of the day, when you talk about communications, you're really talking at the center, the heartbeat of everything. So as we roll out G20, Government Communication Information Systems, which is one of the departments that I oversee, they're going to have to ensure that the message of South Africa is not just, towers, infrastructure, but it is our fashion, our tourism, the things that make us uniquely South African. So we'll be pushing that a lot. We want everybody to participate in this G20. You go anywhere in the world, you will see a person from South Africa, a person from Africa, really by, our fashion, and those are exports that we're really proud of.
We're talking detail of your outfit. Can we turn around and look at it? What inspired it?
You know that at heart I am a girl, a princess from the Eastern Cape, Mtembukazi proudly, so obviously my dress has got elements of umbhaco, but I wanted to jazz it up a little bit, so bringing together that African umbhaco, giving a nod to it, but then the glam, because after all it is the Sona, you do want to shine. Okay. And then we went to really try and find a waist, right? And tried
looking snatched.
No, but thank you so much, Tabby. And
thank you guys for your commitment to literally communicating the importance of us buying local. It's really great and incredible to see the diversity that we were able to present and to showcase here on the carpet. Thank you for joining us. I'm looking forward to hearing what's going to be said tonight. You look gorgeous, but I'm also looking forward to hearing what the people in studio are going to be saying about your outfit.
Thank you, darling.
Go enjoy it. That was the portfolio chair of communications in Parliament, Ms. Kusela Diko. We have had literally an amazing time. Guys, I can't talk to you guys. I can't stress enough how important it is for us to be able to just buy local, to support local all the time. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about their commitments to how they're going to use innovation, and for us to be able to push the message of supporting our local people. Guys, it's been an incredible one. I've enjoyed this one. We did it again. We'll keep doing it. And we're going to be policing you. We're going to be holding you accountable. We're going to be checking if you're wearing local. If I didn't get to speak to you, please continue to take pictures, post them, and hashtag Sona 2025. And also wear local at Sona. Hashtag wear local at Sona. Tag us at Proudly South Africa and ensure that you plug all your designers who are there. This has been an incredible edition of Proudly South African Sona presentation. I'm going back to the studio to our local fashion police experts, and I'm out. It's been great.
The fabulous Tammy on the red carpet here at hashtag Sona 2025. Just two looks, very briefly because we have to wrap it up. Balasa, Ms. Nombula Makunyan.
I thought the look was progressive. I thought her message was progressive. I thought she was trendy. I thought it fit well. There's a woman who's a leader in style and in grace, in style and grace.
Silla?
Good take on masculinity meets femininity.
Okay.
I like the tie. I like the quality of the shirt, the fabric.
Yes.
Yeah, she looks stunning.
Yeah.
A rating out of 10, Utsile?
I'll give it a 10.
Yeah, she's a 10.
She made an effort, and I like the fact that they also balanced fit versus volume. How they've got godets at the bottom, they've got a bit of volume at the bottom, and everything else is well shaped. I like the contrast of the matte against the shine.
Yes.
So
Overwhelming.
Yes.
it's not overwhelming, it's just the right amount of shine and the right amount of matte.
Mate, yeah.
Sophisticated, it's beautiful. Oh, another thing, the tie.
Yes.
How the tie was cut with a bit of beading.
And of course, let's take a look. And right there, that is the former president, Kgalema Motlanthe, and his spouse arriving. And these are some of the VIPs that have been invited to attend the State of the Nation address. Of course, this is the first of the 7th administration, and especially under the GNU. And of course, we're looking forward to what the president is about to deliver in terms of his strategy for the year ahead. Of course, some of you have been following us and engaging with the conversation, telling us what your expectations are in terms of the Sona for tonight. The last look that we're going to look at, Ms. Kusela Diko. Leonie. Sorry, Miss Kusela Diko. She was the one who the last person that Tammy had on the red carpet.
No one mattered after Nomvula Mokunyane.
Oh,
That was the look of Sona. It was sublime. It was gorgeous. It was effortless.
so if there were awards here, you think she'd take it?
Absolutely, hands down.
She's our winner.
Easily.
Yeah, hands
I
down.
hope DSG is
I
watching.
cannot assess anyone before or after that.
Is
It's
it?
Nomvula.
Otsile, do you agree?
She's a winner for today.
Oh, is that?
She gets a 12 out of 10.
Okay, Bella, say you agree?
100%. You can see she had a lot to do with how it turned out.
So, final
Hands
comment,
down.
DSG,
Hands down.
Miss
Hands
Nomvula
down.
Mokunyane,
Hands
takes
down.
it.
She's a winner today.
She's the
Yeah,
winner
she's
today.
I didn't know we were looking for a winner, but if we
4
were,
plus
Yeah.
4, she ate.
Let's wrap it up, DSG. I hope you are watching here, and our local fashion police say that you are the winner for the hashtag Sona 2025. I guess we call it best dress for hashtag Sona 2025. Of course, you're still tuned into Parliament TV right here on channel 408 on DSTV. Of course, you can talk to us on all social media platforms by following, subscribing, and liking at Parliament of RSA. Tell us what your expectations are. We are anticipating the State of the Nation address that President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver tonight at 7 p.m. We are just almost 2 hours away. The VIPs are arriving and processions are about to take place. Of course, this includes the famous 21-gun salute to the President. You're still watching Parliament TV. This is my local fashion police. We have Palisa Mukubu, we have Silla from Scala, we have Otsile, and we have Leonie. Thank you so much for joining me, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you
for
very
having
much. And that is it from us. Cheers.
there's the hogger of the there's the hogger of the mic. Ooh la la!
Much fella.
Watches our talent in fascination, a place where Nobel Prize winners have inspired a new generation of winners who are leaving their mark on global stages. We invite you to a place that celebrates diversity, culture and heritage, the only country in the world that is as colorful as the rainbow, where humanity is expressed through our blend of 11 official languages. Headquarters to top South African and international investment banks, financial and legal consultants. Come set foot in the richest square mile in Africa and host your business events at one of the largest convention centers on the continent. Growth is everywhere. South Africa is rich in mineral resources and manufacturing expertise. We embrace global innovation and technological trends. With an array of world-class infrastructure, everyone is invited to do business. Visit, explore, and live in our beautiful country. We're one of the world's preferred travel destinations. A real country where all dreams are valid and realized, where we always come together and build with them.
More than 60 million different voices echoing in harmony from the southernmost part of the continent, where ordinary people have carved their names in an extraordinary history by showing the world that peace is always better than war. Our reach is not limited by our borders, bringing joy in people's hearts and a spark of rhythm to their moves. This is the welcome home of opportunity, inspiring millions to look here in search of a better life, and sharing our best with the world. We are home to undulating mountains, flowers, endless seas, the beautiful animal kingdom, and the ever-changing seasons that color our world. We are the birthplace of humanity and a showcase of human excellence. We believe in South Africa. We are inspired by our victories of the past and our strong institutions to overcome the challenges of today and build a better tomorrow. This is who we are, South African. South Africa, inspiring new ways.
This is a message by Brand South Africa.
Having arrived. Of course, we saw the former president, Kgalema Motlanthe, arriving with his spouse there. So these are some of the things that happened during Sona that esteemed guests are asked to come by. Of course, another reason why we have the Sona is to hear what the president has to strategize in terms of the implementation of his plans and goals for the year ahead. Of course, there is the Navy Band, and of course, there are processions as we watch and build to the hashtag Sona 2025. It has been a busy day today. There is a guard of honor of all the students, the learners that have come, and they have formed a guard of honor. This is a tradition that has always been with the Sona throughout the years. Of course, these are pictures that are beautiful with all those uniforms from the different parts of, yes. Of course, now there's music outside, people are entertained, people are assembling outside, and this is the fun part of Sona. We're still awaiting the president to deliver the hashtag Sona 2025, and that is the State of the Nation address, the first under the Government of National Unity and the first for the 7th administration. You're reminded that we had the opening of Parliament address on the 18th of July 2024, and this coincided with International Nelson Mandela Day just last year. Of course, the biggest difference between the two, between OPA and Sona, is that the opening of Parliament address happens only once every 5 years after the establishment of a government. Of course, this happened right after we had all gone to the polls and voted on the 29th of May 2024. Of course, now this is Sona. And the difference here is that this happens annually, right? So this is where the president outlines his strategies, obviously flags some challenges throughout the year, and ensures that government will implement those strategies and goals. Of course, we're talking about his cabinet, the very cabinet that is held accountable by the National Assembly and by the NCOP members. This is done through the portfolio committees and the committees in the NCOP. You are still watching Parliament TV right here on channel 408, and of course on all social media platforms at Parliament of RSA. Now that is the Junior Guard of Honor, and you can give us your expectations online and tell us what you think the president should focus on in terms of his State of the Nation address. Is it crime? Is it unemployment? We do have a lot of issues that have been voiced out throughout the day in our channel with different people from all over the country that have been sharing what they feel should be on that address this afternoon, this evening. Of course, it's scheduled for 7 p.m. We're still waiting the president, and of course he makes a big entrance, and you will know when he is here. Of course, the speech will happen in about T-minus 45 minutes, and we will be enlightened by the president's strategy in terms of moving the country forward this year. Of course, there have been big events that have been happening. We have the Bella Act that was enacted. We have the NHI Act that also that has been enacted. So there have been big movements within the government over 2024 and over 2025. As we await what 2025 has in store for us, in store for us, especially in terms of service delivery, especially in terms of what you need at home.
Yes, Tabo, as you can see on the screen, we are preparing for the big moment, which is now 45 minutes away, and there's the military band starting making its way through as we are preparing for the president to deliver the State of the Nation address at 7. Those are the members of the South African National Defence Force from various units of the force that participate in the State of the Nation address. It is a tradition that the army fully participates in the traditions of the State of the Nation address.
And of course, this is after the fallen heroes of the SADCVP, of course, in the DRC. However, we did have an interview earlier, and the speaker did say that this is basically paying homage to the commander-in-chief. And of course, there have been outcries with regards to that, and the thought was that it shouldn't be done at all. However, it has been explained, and that the department is that this is paying homage to the commander-in-chief, and that is President Cyril Ramaphosa.
Exactly as you've just explained it, Sepo, the speaker also outlined this morning when I spoke to her. She also indicated that she had received a request from the Democratic Alliance for the number of soldiers, for the reduction of the number of the members of the SANDF that will be used during the State of the Nation address. However, as you had rightfully explained, the purpose of today for the South African National Defence Force is to salute their chief in commander, which is the President of the Republic of South Africa, and that does not have an impact on what had transpired in the DRC, as you had said.
As you can see there on the screen, the premiers of the provinces are walking into the City Hall, where we are expected to listen to the President address the nation this evening at 7 p.m. And yesterday, Parliament posted a question on its Twitter page where the question was, if you were to deliver the State of the Nation address, what are the things that you will address? And as we went through the tweets, some of the things that really came out are high employment rate, unemployment of doctors and medical professionals, and job creation, and youth unemployment and drug addiction. So we'll await in anticipation as well to hear what the President has to tell us this evening at 7 p.m.
Of course, these are the processions for the State of the Nation address. A beautiful sight, a lot of synchronization there, and it is such a sight to see. Of course, this happens only once a year, unlike the opening of Parliament address that happens every 5 years.
And to those who've just joined us, this is still the build-up to the State of the Nation address, which will be delivered by President at 7 o'clock. You can follow us through our social media platforms at Parliament of RSA and hashtag Sona 2025. And just to read some of the tweets that have come through, this one comes from Sol at Tabiso 0-012. He says, we move on and live our lives like today. We focus on what the President will be telling South Africa at Sona. And this one comes from Teliwela Magagula, where she says, the way ESCOM has no regard for the President, we have load reduction from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. No Sona 2025 for Eguruleni.
Wow.
So those are some of the tweets that have come through on our hashtag Sona 2025.
But of course, these are some of the issues that the President has highlighted in his previous State of the Nation addresses. And hopefully then these are some of the issues that he will touch on. Of course, those are the military processions that are taking place on your screen. A beautiful sight, a lot of synchronization, and an event that happens once a year.
And there, just on your screen, you can see those shots. The President is also expected to take the salute right there in front of the City Hall by the Mandela statue there. And also there will be the singing of the national anthem, also by the South African National Defence Force Band, as they honor their Commander-in-Chief, which is the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa.
A beautiful sight indeed, right outside the City Hall in Cape Town. We started off as windy, however, things have settled down. A perfect weather for a perfect event.
And as you can see, the high level of discipline being maintained by those members of the South African National Defence Force. Le nto le ibonakalisa ukuthi le sidibene ngayo namhlanje ubaluleka kwayo kuba yabona ukuthi kula madrone siwabonayo phaa eskrinini sethu amileyo alayinileyo aphana kumaintainwe the highest level of discipline because abalungiselela ukuthi bazosalutha the chief in command of the SANDF.
And also not forgetting the public participation element of it, that the junior guards, as you saw them there earlier on in the shot, just right next to where the members of the SANDF are standing, where they get an opportunity to come and witness such an august event. And it is a tradition that started in 1994 after our democracy was born, and it has remained a crucial element of the State of the Nation address.
And members of the judiciary are making their way into the chamber. Of course, Sona is one of the occasions where all three arms of state come under one roof, and that is the legislature, the provincial, and the executive rather, and the judiciary. Of course, those are the justices of the Constitutional Court and the judge presidents of the High Court.
And indeed, they are led by none other than our Chief Justice, Ms. Mandi Samaya,
yes,
who succeeded Mr. Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, so leading the team of the judiciary there, and behind the President of the Supreme Court of Appeal and members of the Judge President and other members of the Constitutional Court.
And Judge Maya happens to be the first female Chief Justice of the Republic of South Africa.
And of course, she has been pushing women empowerment, especially within the judicial sector, ensuring that women are empowered and that there is equality within that sector.
As you can see, that the step guard getting ready, lined up and ready to give the salute as soon as their chief in commander makes his way down. But we're still expecting some other dignitaries to make their way into the Cape Town City Hall.
And of course, you can let us know what your expectations are from the State of the Nation address that President Cyril Ramaphosa is scheduled to deliver at 7 p.m. tonight. Use the hashtag Sona2024 and follow, like and subscribe on all social media platforms at Parliament of RSA. For more information, of course, on the work of Parliament and the work of the committees that are involved, you can visit our website at www.parliament.gov.za. It is indeed your Parliament, your voice, your future.
And as we had indicated, Sebo, the hashtag of Sona 2025, I have another tweet here from Kiso Mputi. It says, we urge President Ramaphosa to prioritize eradicating teenage pregnancy, drug and gambling addiction and poverty. Let's work towards a society where hope, faith and opportunity flourish for all. That's a very good tweet, Kiso. Giving us his or her expectations from the President address tonight, urging the President to focus on eradicating teenage pregnancy. I think the tweet is motivated with the recent reports on teenage pregnancy, where one of the young children, I would say a child,
yes, children.
She was not in the teen yet, because she was 12 years old. That gave birth on the New Year's Day. So I think this tweet is probably motivated by one of those incidents.
And of course, you are watching the processions right in front of the City Hall in Cape Town. We are awaiting the State of the Nation address. And that is the famous statue of the late President Nelson Mandela.
And the statue, Tsepo, is there because 11th of February 1990, this is exactly where Madiba stood and addressed South Africans following his release from serving a 27-year term in prison. And he was standing there, and next to him was the president, the current president, Mr. Ramaphosa, who was holding a microphone as Mr. Nelson Mandela was addressing the nation on the day following his release, as I have said. So having this event here also in the city, all apart from the building having been gutted by fire, but having this event here also has its own significance in the history of our democracy.
A full circle moment for President Cyril Ramaphosa, having held that mic, as you mentioned, Tebinkosi, for the late President Nelson Mandela. I'm sure he's proud wherever he is. Of course, he's coming. The State of the Nation address has to be delivered at 7 p.m.
We are exactly 38 minutes away from that State of the Nation address delivered at 7 o'clock by the President. And once the President has delivered the State of the Nation address today, then the debates on the President's address, two-day debates, which will take place on Tuesday and Wednesday next week, and which will then be followed by the President providing responses to the issues that would have been raised by the members during those debates.
Of course, you can still join the conversation by using the hashtag Sona 2025 and let us know what your expectations are from the first State of the Nation address here in Parliament. It's the 7th administration, the first Sona, of course. And of course, we await the President to share his strategies, to share his key goals, flag those challenges, and share how his government will implement all that needs to be implemented to ensure that you at home get the service delivery that you deserve.
And also, as you may know, that Parliament has been hosting the State of the Nation address at the City Hall since 2022 after a fire that destroyed building of the National Assembly building and parts of the old Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. And we've been here since 2022. And as you might know as South Africans, that Parliament is currently under construction. The new Parliament, your Parliament. And you can also participate in how you'd like a Parliament to look by going to our website and sending through a WhatsApp message and the comments and how you would like your Parliament to look like. You are still live on Parliament, watching us from Parliament TV, channel 408, and we're coming also through all our social media platforms at Parliament of RSA. Follow us live there as we are waiting to hear the President deliver the State of the Nation address.
And of course, we can highlight that this is the 7th Parliament since the democratic dispensation of South Africa. We're just a little over 30 years of democracy, and each of those parliaments had different priorities. Of course, the first one was ensuring that the policies of apartheid were made rid of. And after that, it was all about nation building and ensuring that equity and human dignity is throughout the country.
And as Maseko had said, you can also participate in the making your contributions on the rebuilding of Parliament. That information will be available on our parliamentary website, www.parliament.gov.za. You can log in there, follow the prompts, and then you can make your contributions on how best Parliament can make your contributions in terms of assisting Parliament to rebuild its destroyed structures.
Now, some of the VIP that have arrived is the former chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Mr. A.N. Masondo, and Mrs. Osondo. And we have the former deputy president, or former speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Baleka Mbete, and Mr. Homo. And of course, they were welcomed by Mr. Cedric Frolic, whom we had a conversation with here earlier on Parliament's TV. The former president of RSA, Mr. Thabo Mbeki, and a guest arrived earlier, of course, and the former president of RSA, Mr. Kgalema Motlanthe, arrived earlier. So these are some of the guests, including the former president, Mr. Zuma, who arrived to the State of the Nation address. Of course, we saw those processions as members of guests and esteemed members arrived. So the idea is that everybody should arrive before the president does. And the president later on will be welcomed by the Imbongi, who will be singing praises just before the president takes the stage.
Another public participation element there that has remained a very important part of the State of the Nation address since the dawn of our democracy, and Parliament rotates the languages that get to where an Imbongi gets to speak. So last year we used a different language, and this year it will be a Xhosa Imbongi, a 19-year-old female who will be ushering the president inside the chamber.
And I had an opportunity to speak to her earlier. Inako Mateza is the name. She hails from Aidujwa in the Eastern Cape. She is 19 years old, and she will be the one that will usher the president as he makes his way into the assembly to deliver the State of the Nation address. We're looking forward to hear to her. When I spoke to her, she's a very confident young lady who's also informed us that at 19 years old, she already has a foundation that seeks to help other children from her community to also just to try and get them out of the streets.
And of course, that is the band right outside of the Cape Town City Hall. Take a listen.
And that was the performance by the army band, a great music item there that they just performed. And of course, yesterday I had a chance to speak to the choir conductor, Major Sipon Lovu, who informed me that there's a lot of work that happens in preparation for today's event. And as we had earlier, Tsebo, were talking about the level of discipline displayed there, and he also spoke on that, if you see members of that choir when they are performing, from the performance you can see that the level of discipline that is there within the SANDF. So that was the choir is conducted by Major Sipondo.
And it has been a lovely day today with the band playing almost all day and keeping people entertained throughout the day. And of course this is part of the processions, and we are awaiting the President's State of the Nation address.
And the Cape Town weather also showing off there. Earlier on we almost got blown away by the wind, but it decided to subside at this moment so that we can all enjoy this moment before we are blown away by the wind. And as Tsepo said, we are waiting the President to arrive at any moment now, and to take the salute in front of the City Hall, and also where we'll stand there as well when the national anthem, I almost said National Assembly there, is being sung. And yeah, at any moment now, the big moment of the arrival of the President.
It's likely that you would say the National Assembly, because we serve the National Assembly. It's one of the two houses of Parliament that we serve. We still expect to see the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Lotrit, the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Mr. Gavenda, as well as Mr. Paso, coming, making their way in, and conducted by Protocol Liaison Officer, Mr. Mandel.
And of course, this is a joint sitting, and that is why we have members of the National Assembly and members of the National Council of Provinces under one roof. And of course, the President has called the sitting, having liaised with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Toko Didiza, and the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ms. Refile Mtweni Tsipane, for this auspicious event to happen.
And it's safe to say that today we'll be hearing the first address by the President of the 7th Parliament and of the Government of National Unity, wherein he will be outlining government's priorities for the year ahead. We're sitting and waiting to hear what the President will say to the nation and later this evening.
And earlier on as well, when we're talking about the difference between the opening of Parliament and the State of the Nation address, because people might be wondering, we were here in July last year, but we keep on saying that this is the first State of the Nation address, is because on the 18th of July 2024, when we were here, it was for the opening of Parliament, following the national and provincial elections that we had in May. That is when the President now addresses the nation on the long-term goals for the next 5 years of the term of Parliament. Today he's going to set goals, short-term goals for this year, and then again next year until the end of the term he will be giving the State of the Nation address, and this is the first State of the Nation address of the 7th Parliament.
And I think it's safe to say, and also to inform our viewers at home, that that would be the only agenda for today's proceedings.
Yes.
I think that previously Speaker has had to clarify that.
With the joint rules.
Yes, with the joint rule, that today we only have that addressed by the President as the only agenda item. As I had said, as you can see there in your screen, that's the presiding officers, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Lotrit, and Mr. L. Gavenda, the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, with Mr. Masi.
And of course, Sona 2025 will be held under the theme Harnessing Parliamentary Diplomacy for the Realization of Global Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability. Now, this theme encapsulates the transformational potential of parliamentary efforts in promoting inclusive, sustainable and collaborative approaches to global challenges, thereby advancing shared prosperity. Of of course, it is conceptualized to align with South Africa's rotational hosting of the G20 in 2025 and Parliament's hosting of the Speakers Summit, P20 of the G20 National Parliaments. Now, these P20 summits play a crucial role in injecting a parliamentary perspective into global governance, raising awareness, building political support for international commitments, and ensuring effective implementation at the national level. Now, it is important to remember that it is crucial that we reinforce the sense of urgency that the South African Parliament and the broader African legislative sector possesses. We must send a strong message that Africa is not merely a passive field of action, but an equal, proactive and prominent player in global governance and public discourse.
And just to add on to that, that the P20 is a structure of the speakers of the countries of the G20. And as South Africa is now the leader of the G20 countries, the first African country, by the way, to be chairing the G20, it will now, the speakers will also have a structure called the P20.
And that is the Deputy President escort making its way into the Cape Town City Hall. And as you'd have seen in front that Seppo, we had 10 motorbikes that were escorting the Deputy President, and we are expecting to see 20 motorbikes that will be escorting the Deputy President. And there it is, the Deputy President about to make his way out of that vehicle and into the City Hall.
And the Deputy President is Mr. Paul Mashatile, and those are the scenes that you are seeing. He has arrived at the hashtag Sona 2025. And of course, he is being met by one of the dignitaries of Parliament. And of course, he's going to make his way into the chamber as one of the VVIPs of the State of the Nation address.
All right,
he's been greeted as well by the Deputy Speaker and also by the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces before he makes his way into the chamber.
And once the Deputy President walks in, we can then expect to see the Speaker of the National Assembly as well as the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, who will be making their way and to wait for the President to arrive and to receive the President.
And of course, that is the Secretary to the National Assembly, Mr. Masibulele Kaso, and he is with the Deputy President, Mr. Paul Mashatile, who is accompanied by the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Annelie Lotriet, and the Deputy Chairperson of the NCOP, Mr. Les Gavanda.
And in the green dress is the Deputy President's wife, Mrs. Mashatile, there with the Deputy President, the Deputy Speaker, and the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces.
Of course, we await the President's arrival now in much anticipation of what he has to outline in the State of the Nation address. The first in the 7th administration of Parliament since the elections, and the first since the establishment of the Government of National Unity.
We are exactly 19 minutes away from listening to the President of the Republic of South Africa delivering his first State of the Nation address for the 7th Parliament under the Government of National Unity. And I'm happy, Maseko, that you provided clarity to our viewers on today's event vis-a-vis the event that took place on the 18th of July in 2022, 2024.
Are you that
yes. Which we had already indicated that it was an opening of Parliament address, an event that happens once every 5 years following the general elections and also the swearing in of the President.
Of course, then Sona represents the highest level of executive accountability within South Africa's constitutional democracy. Through Sona, Parliament fosters government transparency and oversight, uniting the nation across all divides and holding the executive accountable for realizing citizens' aspirations for a better life. Now, with that, Parliament's oversight agenda is guided by the policy priorities announced by the President during the opening of Parliament. Now, this year's Sona will take on added significance as it officially launches Parliament's oversight role in the implementation of G20 decisions. South Africa's G20 presidency prioritizes addressing pressing domestic challenges
including slow economic growth, unemployment, poverty, and inequality. It offers a unique opportunity to align international priorities with local legislative actions, enabling a coherent and coordinated approach to shared challenges. As such, Sona 2025 must spotlight South Africa's commitment to fostering dialogue on critical issues such as trade, technology, governance accountability, and the synchronization of global and local efforts to address national challenges through international collaboration.
Maybe it will also be nice to give our viewers just to listen to that musical item that is currently playing in the background. Such a wonderful musical item that is currently playing as we await the arrival of the Speaker of the National Assembly and the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, who will receive the President. Let's listen to this musical piece.
The City Hall to do the 21 gun salute, and also for the singing of the national anthem.
Of course, this is the much anticipated arrival of the President as he is scheduled to outline his key priorities for the year ahead in his State of the Nation address. And this is scheduled for 7 p.m. Of course, he is with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Thoko Didiza, and the National Council of Provinces Chairperson, Ms. Refile Mtweni Tsibane, and they will be making their way to the podium right in front of the military procession where the 21 gun salute will happen, and the flyover, the famous flyover that happens each Sona. And this is a paying homage to their Commander-in-Chief.
And as you can see there on the screen, the President waiting. He is with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Thoko Didiza, as well as the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ms. Refile Mtweni Tsibane. And right in front of the President, you'll see those two, they are 8 camps, as they are called, 8 camps. They are there to assist the President and will stay with the President until he concludes the delivery of the State of the Nation address, even though the other members of the South African National Defence Force will withdraw as soon as the President has entered the chamber. But the two that are within the eight camps will remain with the President. They will be outside the doors of the chamber whilst the President is delivering his State of the Nation address. Let's listen to sound.
Assembly.
umongameli wesizwe njengani ntateza ntatha njewule nanku umthako omnyama nje bosepho umbhayibhayi kwezopolitiko kaloku yani enye yokududula bengazuluqaba uzuthi wakunyuka loo ntabo ungalibali ukunyeka emva ukuzuthi wakudibana nemidlambila kwingcabo yentabo umemeza ucamaku madola amnyama eAfrika qhubeka kusiphatha ngezo zandla zingenamikhinqi nditsho wena sifuba sibanzi sokweleka abasweleyo xhalabali banzi lekothula imithole kwabasindwayo nditsho wena sangola hachivase muduhulu waralusiwelo Matamelo, a hero with roots in Soweto, the son of the soil, a man of courage with strength and grace. You are the voice to the voiceless, an eye to the blind, and a shoulder to the disabled. Ndlovena babata yaleka namabantu bakho ulapho nje ubekwe ngokuthenjwa nditsho wena Ramaphosa Ntoka Samueli mawethu ilanga liyatshona amasoma khalisa amakhwelo igusha ziququzelela ngasekhaya mandikuyeke my president mandikuyeke my cupcake ndirham
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, there will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. As we do that, may we please acknowledge our fallen members of the armed forces in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Thank you, and please be seated. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, the President has called this joint sitting of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces in terms of Section 84, subsection 2D of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, read with Joint Rule 13, subsection 1A, to deliver his State of the Nation address to Parliament. I now call on the Honourable the President to address the joint sitting. Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members, can we please take our seats? Honorable members, can we please take your seat and allow the President to address the House and the nation?
Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Toko Didiza, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ms. Refilwe Ntshweni-Tsipane, Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Paul Mashatile, Chief Justice of the Republic, Mandi Samaya, and Judges President, former President of the Republic, Mr. Thabo Mbeki, former President Kgalema Motlanthe, former Deputy President David Mabuza, former Speaker of the National Assembly, Ms. Baleka Mbete, former Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Lichisa Tsinodi, and former Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Mr. Amos Masondo, Mayor of the City of Cape Town, Mr. Gordon Hill-Lewis, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, regional deans, and heads of missions, members of Parliament, and fellow South Africans. We gather here as we mourn the death and tragic death and devastating loss of 14 South African soldiers who were part of a mission to bring peace to the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. We pay tribute and bow our heads to Staff Sergeant William Eddie Kola, Staff Sergeant Mulahlehi Ishmael Mulahlehi, Staff Sergeant Shahlane Theophilus Siepe, Corporal Matume Justice Malisa, Corporal Renae Nemabulani, Lance Bombardier Itumeleng MacDonald Mureo, Lance Corporal Tseke Moffat Molapo, Lance Corporal Metsi Stensley Raswiswi, Rifleman Sibatane Richard Chokwe, Rifleman Derek Maluleke, Rifleman Tsidiso Andris Mabele, Rifleman Calvin Louis Moahi, Rifleman Moketi Joseph Mobe, Private Peter Jacobus Strado. Speaker, I thank you for getting us to honor these fallen heroes. I have directed that a national flag be flown at half-mast in honor of these fallen heroes for a week starting from tomorrow morning. Alongside soldiers from other southern African countries, they lost their lives in defense of the fundamental right of the Congolese people to live in peace and security. They lost their lives not in the pursuit of resources or territory or power. They lost their lives so that the guns on our continent may be forever silenced. So we salute them. My fellow South Africans, this State of the Nation address is taking place as we celebrate 70 years since the adoption of the Freedom Charter at the Congress of the People in Kliptown. in 1955. The Freedom Charter is the cornerstone of our democratic constitution. It sets out a vision of a united, non-racial, non-sexist, democratic and prosperous South Africa. It also sets out a vision of a country in which government is founded on the will of the people of South Africa, where the land is shared among those who work it, where the people share in the country's wealth and in all that the country produces and are all equal before the law. It is this vision that continues to guide us as we work to build the nation that we all want. It is the spirit of the Congress of the People that inspires us as we prepare for a national dialogue in which South Africans are once again called upon to chart a new path for our country. We must chart this path in a world that is rapidly changing. It is a world of both interdependence and competition, of cooperation and conflict. It is a multipolar world in which new countries are emerging to play a greater role in global affairs. We are seeing intensifying competition over issues such as trade, technology, and influence in global institutions. There are global fundamental shifts underway that affect every aspect of human life, from the growing impact of climate change to rapid advances in artificial intelligence, geopolitical tensions, and violent conflicts. In the face of these challenges, we are witnessing the rise of nationalism, protectionism, the pursuit of narrow interests, and the decline of common cause. This is the world that we, as South Africa, a developing economy, must now navigate. But we are not daunted to navigate our path through this world that constantly changes. We will not be deterred. We are, as South Africans, a resilient people, and we will not be bullied. We will stand together as a united nation, and we will speak with one voice in defense of our national interests, our sovereignty, and our constitutional democracy. By standing true to our values, by harnessing our unique strengths and endowments, and by forging a common purpose, we can turn these trying circumstances to our advantage and propel our country forward. As South Africans, we stand for peace and justice. We stand for equality and solidarity. We stand for a non-racial future, and we stand for democracy and tolerance as well as compassion. We stand for equal rights for women, for persons with disability, and for members of the LGBTQIA+ community. We stand for our shared humanity, not for the survival of the fittest. So this evening, let us speak of the nation that we want. Let us speak of the future that we want to build. Let us speak of the work that we as South Africans must do, and the work that we are doing to build that nation and to build that future. We want a nation united in its diversity. At many difficult moments in our past, we found strength in working together towards a common goal. Through partnership, we brought peace and democracy to our country which was once troubled. We overcame apartheid, a crime against humanity that denied people their human rights, that deprived them of the land and livelihoods, that sought to strip them of their dignity, that humiliated them. Through partnership, we overcame a devastating pandemic and rebuilt our country in the wake of state capture as well. Together, we have built durable institutions that support our democracy, that protect our fundamental rights and promote the well-being of South Africans. We have built meaningful partnerships between government and business and labor and civil society and other social partners to drive growth and development. These stand as models of cooperation for the rest of the world. South Africans are continuing to work together to confront our country's challenges and build a nation that works for all. Guided by the wishes of the people as expressed in last year's elections, we have formed a government of national unity to give expression to our culture of cooperation. As political parties, we have set aside our differences and agreed to work together for the good of all South Africans. In the last week, we have adopted the Medium-Term Development Plan, which sets out a clear and ambitious program for the next 5 years. The actions contained in the Medium-Term Development Plan will advance our 3 strategic priorities. Firstly, to drive inclusive growth and job creation. Secondly, to reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living. And thirdly, to build a capable, ethical and developmental state. Our most urgent task is to grow our economy so that we can create jobs, reduce poverty, and improve the lives of South Africans. To undertake this task, we need a government that works for the people. We need a state that is capable, competent, underpinned by a professional public service. South Africans want a state that treats all people with dignity, humility, and respect. A state with leaders who are prepared to serve our people with complete dedication, and public servants who are ethical, skilled, and properly qualified. To achieve these objectives, we are strengthening the role of the Public Service Commission in the appointment of key people who direct the affairs of our state, such as Directors General, Deputy Directors General, Chief Executive Officers of SOEs and board members and other senior positions. We will introduce a graduate recruitment scheme so that we may attract the best and the brightest in the public service. A capable state must start where our people live and work. In many cities and towns across our country, roads are not maintained. Water and electricity supply is often disrupted. Refuse is not collected, and sewage runs in the streets. In part, this has happened because many municipalities lack the technical skills and resources required to meet our people's needs. Many municipalities have not reinvested the revenue they earn or collect from these services into the upkeep of infrastructure. Starting this year, we will work with our municipalities to establish professionally managed ring-fenced utilities for water and electricity services to ensure that there is adequate investment and maintenance. Many of the challenges in municipalities also arise from the design of our local government system. We will therefore undertake extensive consultation to develop an updated white paper on local government to outline a modern and fit-for-purpose local government system. We will also review the funding model for municipalities. We will do so because many of our municipalities truly do not have a viable and sustainable revenue base. We will work with traditional leaders in the implementation of local development programs. We will also seek to work with our traditional leaders in ensuring that they continue their own work as we give them the recognition as the natural and indigenous leaders of our people. We will expand our support to municipalities that require assistance, drawing on the lessons of the Presidential eThekwini Working Group. We are seeing great progress in eThekwini as we implement the district development model, which enables all key role players, as in government, business, labor, and community-based organizations, to work together. As we work to reform the public service and build the capability of the state, we will harness technology to transform the way government works. We will invest in digital public infrastructure to give South Africans access to government services anytime, anywhere, through a relaunched government gov.za platform. At the heart of this transformation will be the implementation of a digital identity system. Now, these measures will in the end transform the relationship between citizens and government and create one government that is accessible to every person at a touch. We want a nation with a thriving economy, an economy that benefits all. To create this virtuous cycle of investment, growth, and jobs, we must lift economic growth to above 3%. To achieve higher levels of economic growth, we are undertaking massive investment in new infrastructure while upgrading and maintaining the infrastructure that we have. We're developing innovative ways of funding infrastructure. We are engaging local and international finance institutions and investors to unlock 100 billion rand in infrastructure financing. A project preparation bid window has been launched to fast-track investment readiness. This includes revised regulations for public-private partnerships, which will unlock private sector expertise and funds. And government will spend more than 940 billion rand on infrastructure over the next 3 years. Now, this includes 375 billion rand in spending by state-owned enterprises, This funding will revitalize our roads and bridges. It will build dams and waterways. It will modernize our ports and airports and also power our economy. Through the infrastructure fund that we launched some time ago, 12 blended finance projects worth nearly 38 billion rand have been approved in the last year. These are projects in water and sanitation, student accommodation, transport, health and energy as well. Construction of them tend to bridge in the Eastern Cape. The construction continues. This bridge will rise above the river between Port Edward and Lusikisiki and will become the tallest bridge in Africa. The Podihadi Dam in Lesotho will feed 490 million cubic liters of water a year from the Lesotho highlands into the Vaal River system, securing water supply to several provinces for years to come. Working with international partners, we are revitalizing small harbors, unlocking economic opportunities for coastal communities. We're also looking very closely at the harbor that we will build in the Northern Cape, in Bochubai, because that is going to be a game changer for the Northern Cape. We are steadily removing the obstacles to meaningful and faster growth. The economic reforms that we are implementing through Operation Vulindlela have created a new sense of optimism and confidence in our economy. Investors are looking at South Africa with much more interesting eyes as they see the reforms that we are implemented through Vulindlela. We have made progress in rebuilding and restructuring a number of our network industries. We are seeing positive results in the improvement of the functioning of our network industries as well as the investment opportunities that are opening up and are being taken up by investors, leading to job creation. Working together with business, labor and other social partners, we must now finish the work that we started. Over the coming year, we will initiate a second wave of reform to unleash more rapid and inclusive growth. Our immediate focus is to enable Eskom, Transnet and other state-owned enterprises that are vital to our economy to function optimally. We are repositioning these entities to provide world-class infrastructure while enabling competition in operations, whether in electricity generation, freight, rail, or port terminals. We continue with the fundamental reform of our state-owned enterprises to ensure that they can effectively fulfill their social and economic mandates. Now, this includes the work underway to put in place a new model to strengthen governance and oversight of our public entities. We will ensure public ownership of strategic infrastructure for public benefit while finding innovative ways to attract private investment, to improve services, and to ensure public revenue can be focused on the provision of public services. We are in the process of establishing a dedicated SOE reform unit to coordinate this work. The measures we have implemented through the Energy Action Plan have reduced the severity and frequency of load shedding, with more than 300 days without load shedding since March 2024. Now, while the return of load shedding for 2 days last week was a reminder that our energy supply is still constrained, we remain on a very positive trajectory, whether people like it or not. We now need to put the risk of load shedding behind us once and for all. And the Minister of Electricity will speak about it in about 2 weeks or so when he presents to Parliament. We need to put that once and for all behind us by completing the reform of our energy system to ensure long-term energy security. The Electricity Regulation Amendment Act, which came into effect on the 1st of January, marks the beginning of a new era in our energy architecture. This year, we will put in place the building blocks of a competitive electricity market. Over time, this will allow multiple electricity generation entities to emerge and to compete. We will mobilize private sector investment in our transmission network to connect more renewable energy to the grid. The Minister will tell us that we still need to install 14,000 kilometers of transmission lines. We therefore need to mobilize finance from a number of sources to enable this to happen. As we reform our energy system, we are continuing to build successful multilateral partnerships in the global effort to halt the devastating impact of climate change. Our just energy transition is gaining momentum. Over $13 billion have been pledged by the international community, and significant private capital is being invested locally. We are determined to meet our carbon reduction commitments and will do so at a pace and at a scale that our country can afford. We are revitalizing our port terminals and rail corridors through the Freight Logistics Roadmap, which was adopted by Cabinet, leveraging private capital to restore our logistics infrastructure to world-class standards. Transnet's performance has stabilized and is steadily improving. We released a network statement in December last year, which for the first time will enable private rail operators to access the freight rail system that will continue to be owned by the state. Open access to the rail network will allow train operation companies to increase the volume of goods transported by rail while our network infrastructure remains state-owned. This will ensure that South African minerals, the vehicles that we manufacture, our agricultural produce reach international markets, securing jobs and earning much-needed revenue for our fiscus. New cranes and other port equipment are being commissioned to speed up the loading and unloading of cargo and reduce waiting times for ships in our various ports. As we forge ahead with the reform agenda, an urgent priority is to ensure a secure and reliable supply of water across the country. Many people in our cities, towns, and villages are experiencing more and more frequent water shortages as a result of failing water infrastructure. It is impossible to live without water, as we all know, and it is impossible for the economy to grow without water. We are therefore taking a series of decisive actions to resolve the water crisis, to enable our people to get water where they live, whether in townships or in the rural areas. We are investing heavily in expanding our water resources. Wherever one goes in our country, we often hear our citizens raising the issue of water continuously. So we are raising this issue to a much higher level. And like we did with electricity, I know and I am hopeful that we will resolve the water crisis that we have. Loko famba uya atindaweni to tala ukuma ku ri vakhegulu va rila hi yona mhaka leyi ya mati. Va ku byela ku ri hi hava mati, hi lava ku ri hulumeni a hi tisela mati, hi ta swi endla swaleswo. Hi lava ku ri mi tiva kahle laha mi nga tshama kona ku ri mati a ta va kona, hi ta wa tisa mi wa kuma. To date, the Infrastructure Fund has secured 23 billion rand for 7 large water infrastructure projects. We have ended delays in major water infrastructure projects like Phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project and the Umkomazi Dam. Work is underway to prepare for construction of the Ntabelanga Dam on the Umzimvubu River to supply additional water for domestic use as well as for irrigation in the Eastern Cape. Within the next year, we will complete the establishment of the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency to unlock much greater investment in water projects. Through the Water Services Amendment Bill, we will introduce a licensing system for water service providers and remove licenses where providers do not meet the standards for quality drinking water. As part of our reform agenda, we will ensure that our focus on water is intensive and it speeds up. As we move ahead with our reform processes, we will continue to enhance our visa system to make it easier for skilled people to invest in our country and to grow tourism. This year, we will launch the electronic travel authorization system to enable a secure, fully digital visa application process. Now, this system will use artificial intelligence and automation to reduce the scope of corruption and enable rapid turnaround times for tourist visas. We have cleared over 90% of the backlog of more than 300,000 visa applications. Now, in many ways, these changes that are underway, these reforms that we're implementing, send a very strong message that South Africa is indeed open for business and tourism. As we open for tourism, the Chinese market, the Indian market, the market in the Middle East, the market in Europe and all over are waiting to come as tourists to our country. We want a nation in which prosperity and opportunity is shared by all. For many decades, our economy has been held back by the exclusion of the vast majority of South Africa's people. Black South Africans were deprived of land, of capital, of skills, and of opportunities. Our economy was starved of the potential that it has. And this is why we need to transform our economy and to make it more inclusive. That is why our focus is on empowering our people, on empowering women and persons with disabilities, because they were deliberately excluded from playing a role in the economy of their own country. And we will set up a transformation fund worth 20 billion rand a year over the next 5 years to fund black-owned and small business enterprises. We will fast-track the regulations of the Public Procurement Act to ensure that businesses that are owned by women, by young people, and persons with disabilities receive equitable opportunities in government contracts. And we have started and will continue to train women entrepreneurs to enable them to compete for government tenders. In November last year, we launched the National Skills Fund Disabilities Program. In its first phase, this transformative initiative will empower over 10,000 persons with disabilities through tailoring training for them and through ensuring that they get stipends and specialized tools. This part of the work we must undertake as business, as government and labor and civil society to enable people with disabilities to play an important role in the economy of our country. For far too long, they've been relegated to the back rooms of everything. Through these programs, we are not only righting a grave historical wrong, we are unleashing the potential of our economy for sustained growth. We want a nation where there is work for all, where every person can earn a decent living and realize their potential, where the rights of workers are protected and working conditions are improved, where women and men receive equal pay for work of equal value. We need to ensure that growth creates jobs for all, and especially for young people. The success of the presidential employment stimulus shows how public employment programs can create meaningful work that generates a wider benefit and contributes to sustainable employment. The employment stimulus that we introduced during the COVID period has created almost 2.2 million work and livelihood opportunities through innovative models that provide high-quality work to participants. The Social Employment Fund has created over 80,000 jobs this year. It has supported more than 12,000 participants to enter entrepreneurial activities. During the past year, young people secured 235,000 work opportunities through the National Pathway Management Network. And this is underpinned by the SA Youth Mobi platform. We now need to build on these innovative programs to create jobs for young people at ever greater scale. And to create jobs, we must leverage our unique strengths as well as our unrealized potential to build the industries of the future, as in green manufacturing, renewable energy, electrical vehicles, and the digital economy that is also driven by artificial intelligence. This year, we will finalize a modernized and comprehensive industrial policy that drives economic growth. We will achieve this ambition by focusing on the opportunities in localization, diversification, digitization, and decarbonization. We are working towards the full implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which will tear down the barriers to trade on our continent. As the most industrialized economy on the African continent, we are positioning ourselves to be at the center of this new growing market. We are harnessing the sun and the wind to make our country a leader in renewable energy and green manufacturing. With an abundance of cheap green energy, we can produce products that are competitive anywhere in the world and create hundreds of thousands of new jobs in this process. We are making sustainable use of the rich abundance of the South African earth by supporting our farmers, improving our logistics network and rural supply chains, and opening new export markets for products that we grow or produce. We can significantly expand our agricultural sector. We want South Africa to be leading in the commercial production of products such as hemp and cannabis, a product that is so well known in the Eastern Cape and KZN, a product that our forebears have produced for generations and generations. We can add modern value to it and bring it to the shelves of the entire world. We are breathing new life into the mining industry, which remains one of our most important and valuable endowments. I often say that mining was the bedrock on which our economy was built, and it continues to be a sunrise industry. We are on track to implement a new, modern, and transparent mining rights system this year, which will unlock investment in exploration and production. We will put in place an enabling policy as well as a regulatory framework for critical minerals. By beneficiating these minerals here in South Africa, we can make use of the extraordinary wealth that lies beneath our soil for the benefit of our people. Even more valuable than our natural resources are the diversity, the energy, and the talent of the people of this country. The services sector is now the largest part of our economy, ranging from financial services to retail, hospitality, tourism, and the burgeoning creative industry. The tourism sector is growing rapidly, with close on to 9 million tourists having visited our country last year. One of the attractive sites in our country, which we want to see growing more and more, is Robben Island. I visited Robben Island on the 8th of January. And I got to hear that in a year they are now going to receive 300,000. They want to grow it to 500,000 visitors in a year. And most of these visitors are South Africans. So we will grow tourism through our visa reforms, through increasing the number of flights to key destinations, and through the marketing of our country as the best country to visit in the world. And we have also seen strong growth in digital services, as well as business process outsourcing, as well as data centers. As the need for data grows in the world, our country is seen as a reservoir of having data centers. And this is continuing to create jobs for young people. To support this growth, we are investing in skills development for the industries of the future. The Jobs Boost Fund has pioneered a new model that links funding for skills in demand for the successful placement and particularly employment of young people. We are expanding our support for small and medium enterprises and for the informal economy, which sustains millions of jobs as well as livelihoods across our country. This includes streamlining funding for small businesses, unlocking venture capital for high-growth startups, and developing a regulatory environment that enables rather than restricts informal enterprises. To build an innovative economy, the Department of Science and Technology and Innovation will establish an innovation fund to provide venture capital to tech startups that emerge from our higher education institutions. We are calling on business to use the SA Youth Mobi platform, which currently has some 4.5 million young people registered for their hiring purposes. We're calling on business to support the Youth Employment Service to scale up workplace experience opportunities over the coming year. We want a nation where no one goes hungry. For 30 years, since the dawn of democracy, we have worked together to reduce poverty. Today, our country spends around 60% of our national budget on the social wage, on health, on education, on social protection, community development, and public employment programs. More than 28 million unemployed and vulnerable people in our country receive social assistance. More than 10.5 million learners go to public schools where they do not have to pay fees. Last year, over 900,000 students from poor working-class backgrounds and poor families and working-class backgrounds received funding to study at universities and colleges. Now, through these programs, we are alleviating the worst effects of poverty. We are providing the means through which South Africans can rise above poverty that has been passed down from one generation to the next. But we have much to do, and much more work needs to be done to end poverty in our country. We must do much more to ensure that women in particular no longer face the hopeless task to feed and clothe their children. While government invests heavily to support poor and unemployed people, these programs are fragmented and sometimes they are difficult to access. We are therefore building an integrated system of support for poor and unemployed people. We are strengthening existing programs from job search support to public employment and making sure that together they provide people with pathways out of poverty. Rather than expecting those in need to approach several government agencies separately, a citizen should be able to go to one place to receive all the support that they need. To protect the gains that we have made since 1994 in advancing children's rights, we will adopt the National Strategy to Accelerate Action for Children, which focuses on 10 key priorities, including poverty reduction, child protection, and addressing malnutrition. The Social Relief Distress Grant is an essential mechanism for alleviating extreme poverty. We will use this grant as a basis for the introduction of a more sustainable form of income support for unemployed people. Now, central to our efforts to end poverty and to develop our economy is to provide decent, quality education to every South African. We are immensely proud of the achievements of the matric class of 2024. It's a class which achieved the highest pass rate in our country's history. Now, 87% of learners who sat for their matric exams passed. For the first time in the history of our country, nearly half of these learners achieved bachelor pass. Nothing can diminish, frankly, nothing can diminish our pride in the hard work of these learners and the steady support of their teachers, parents, and broader community. And let us give them a big round of applause. We should all be proud of the class of 2024. But our immediate focus is to expand access to early childhood development for every child. Now this will be achieved through registering and formalizing existing ECD centers and ensuring that they have the facilities, the training and material that they need to provide quality learning. We will focus on ensuring that every child can read for meaning in the foundation phase to set them up for success in later years. To achieve this, we are implementing mother tongue-based bilingual education. We do this to improve literacy and numeracy, and rolling out lessons plans, reading books, and other interventions that have been proven to work. The Funza Rushaka bursary scheme will continue to prioritize students who want to pursue a teaching career in the foundation phase. Last year, we signed the Basic Education Laws Amendment Act, which was passed by this Parliament. Now, this act is pivotal for ensuring that education is accessible and is inclusive for all South Africans. This year, the Minister of Basic Education will introduce national policy, the norms and the standards and regulations to empower all partners in the basic education field to support the implementation of the Act. Now, to ensure that the economy has the skills that it needs, we are increasing the production of artisans through TVET colleges. Now, this is part of the shift we are undertaking towards education and skills development that combines formal learning with job training. Now, drawing on the models that have proven to be so successful in other countries, we're calling on the private sector to offer young people experiential learning opportunities while they undertake their studies. We are implementing phase 1 of the comprehensive student funding model for higher education to address the needs of the missing middle. This will support approximately 10,000 students in the first year. We want a nation in which there is quality health care for all. This year, we will proceed with the preparatory work for the establishment of the National Health Insurance. Now, this includes developing the first phase of a single electronic health record system, the preparatory work to establish the ministerial advisory committees on the health technologies and healthcare benefits, and an accreditation framework for health service providers. The NHI will reduce inequalities in healthcare by ensuring that everyone gets fair medical treatment. Now, the NHI will save many lives by providing a package of services that include, for example, even more especially, maternal and newborn care and services also for people living with HIV, those with TB, and those suffering from non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. Our most immediate priority is to strengthen the health system and improve the quality of care. A vital part of this is the modernization, the improvement, and the maintenance of existing health facilities and the construction of new hospitals and clinics. A number of hospitals are under construction or are undergoing revitalization. Now, these include the Limpopo Central Hospital, the Siloam District Hospital in Limpopo, the Tlhabeng Regional Hospital in the Free State, the Bambisana District Hospital, Zitulele District Hospital in the Eastern Cape, and the Buphelong Psychiatric Hospital in Northwest. Now, our projects, rather other projects, are at various stages of design and development. Now, this includes the replacement of 3 existing new central hospitals, 5 new district hospitals, 5 community health centers, and a new psychiatric hospital. To improve patient experience, we are putting more emphasis on reducing waiting times, cleanliness, and staff attitudes in the public health facilities. We are encouraged by the great progress the country has made towards ending HIV and AIDS as a public health threat. By the end of March 2024, 96% of people living with HIV knew their status. 79% of these were on antiretroviral treatment, and 94% of these were on treatment with virally suppressed conditions. Now, to ensure that we reach the target of 95, 95, 95, which has been set by the World Health Organization, we will this year launch a massive campaign to look for an additional 1.1 million people who are not yet on treatment. We are concerned about the potential impact of the decision by the United States government to suspend some of its funding for HIV and TB programs in African countries for 90 days. Now, this funding that we get accounts for about 17% of our country's HIV spend. We have been able, over the years, to provide funding from our own resources, our own fiscus, for our HIV and TB programs. We are looking at various interventions to address the immediate needs and ensure the continuity of the essential services that we might lose if this funding does not come through. Now, to tackle inequality, we do need to undo apartheid special planning, which has scarred our country, our cities, and forced many people to live far away from areas of work and opportunity. We have delivered millions of housing opportunities since 1994, providing safety as well as dignity to poor households. Yet the practice of building housing developments on the periphery of urban centers has in many ways perpetuated inequality and urban sprawl. Going forward, we are going to build more housing in our city centers and closer to places of work and business. Now, we are redesigning our housing subsidies and directing more funding towards programs that enable people to buy or rent a home in an area of their choice. We will release more underutilized state properties for affordable housing development. And we are working with our provinces and metros, and I'm glad that a number of our premiers are here as well. We're working with them to reclaim buildings that have been hijacked in the city centers and repurpose them for public use. Now, we will provide 300,000 service stands to qualifying beneficiaries to enable housing development in well-planned, connected communities along key development corridors. We will clear the backlog of title deeds for subsidized housing, turning homes into household assets. And we will review land use, building, and other regulations to enable low-cost property development, including backyard housing. This represents a fundamental rethink of how the state delivers housing at scale while turning our cities into engines of growth and opportunity. In making our cities work for their residents, we will restore the remaining passenger rail corridors and stations to full service. More than 80% of passenger rail corridors have been returned to service. Now, PRASA has introduced over 200 modern, locally produced trains on its network to provide a low-cost option for public transport. Over the next 5 years, we will restore PRASA's signaling system so that we can put all our new trains to work and commuters can be assured that they can reach work safely, affordably, and on time. Now, we also want a nation in which everyone is safe. The police continue to work with other law enforcement agencies to dismantle organized crime syndicates and combat financial and violent crimes. The South African police has partnered with the metropolitan municipalities and continues to work with communities to fight crime in the priority provinces where crime is particularly high. Now, we are intensifying Operation Shanela. Shanela has been successful in arresting suspects, recovering firearms, and seizing stolen vehicles. And we must continue to tackle the scourge of gun violence that has continued to plague our society for decades. I have asked the Minister and the National Commissioner of Police to prioritize reducing gun-related crime and violence. Now, this includes preventing the diversion of firearms into the illicit market and recovering illegal firearms in circulation. We know from international evidence and our own experience that this is the most effective way to reduce overall violence. Analytics and smart policing solutions for modern law enforcement. We have seen the value of technology in fighting crime, and a number of countries that have opted to utilizing technology have made great progress. And by utilizing artificial intelligence in its fraud risk detection and verification work, SARS has prevented the leakage of over 95 billion rand in impermissible refunds. It has recovered 20 billion in revenue and dismantled an illicit tobacco and gold scheme. We continue to work across society to end the violence that is perpetrated against women. We have promulgated the National Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Act, establishing a national structure to oversee a coordinated response to this crisis. We will ensure that the Council is fully functional and properly resourced. We continue to strengthen support to victims of gender-based violence. There are now 65 Tutuzela centers across the country. Out of the 52 districts in our country, 44 have gender-based violence shelters. All police stations in the country now have victim-friendly services. And another 16 sexual offences courts will be established in the next financial year. Now, we want a nation that deals with corruption. Last year, we established the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption as a permanent entity of the NPA dedicated to investigating and prosecuting high-level corruption. We will ensure that the Directorate is fully resourced and have access to information that it needs to prosecute state capture cases and hold those responsible to account. We are establishing a world-class digital forensic lab to support the investigation of complex corruption and financial crime. We are making steady progress in implementation of the recommendations of the State Capture Commission, including signing into law several legislative reforms. The Special Investigating Unit and Asset Forfeiture Unit report that over 10 billion rand has been recovered in state capture-related cases. Now, this year, the Department of Justice and Constitutional Department will report on the review of the Anti-Corruption Architecture, National Anti-Corruption Advisory Council. This is expected to streamline legislation to eradicate duplication of mandates and foster greater cooperation between law enforcement agencies. And we will finalize the whistleblower protection framework and introduce the Whistleblower Protections Bill in Parliament during this financial year. And this year, we will strengthen South Africa's system of dealing with terror financing and further legislative systems improvements. To secure our removal from the International Financial Action Task Force grey list, we have made significant progress in addressing the weaknesses that were identified in our law enforcement system, with 16 out of 22 action items fully addressed. We want a nation that is at peace with the world. We want to continue through our international relations to advance the well-being of the people of South Africa as we seek to advance the well-being of humanity. Now, we will work to strengthen our trade relations around the world and to leverage our strong and diverse global alliances to make our economy more resilient. The key pillars of our foreign policy remain the promotion of human rights, peace and friendship, and the strengthening of fair trade and investment ties with other countries. Now, these are the principles that guide our presidency of the G20 this year.
It's not that much to say.
We have chosen the theme of solidarity, equality, and sustainable development to underscore the need for cooperation and partnership amongst the countries of the world. For the first time in its history, the G20 is being hosted on the African continent. And this is particularly important following the admission of the African Union as a member of the G20. It is a great opportunity for us to place the needs of our continent and the rest of the global South more firmly on the international development agenda. Our G20 presidency is a valuable opportunity for South Africa to advance efforts towards greater global economic growth and sustainable development. Africa remains at the center of our foreign policy. We continue to work to strengthen the African Union, to support the achievement of peace, development, and economic integration on our continent. We know that our future prosperity is intricately linked and bound to the prosperity of the African continent. For South Africa to thrive, we must ensure that Africa does indeed thrive as well. And we must silence the guns on our continent. Now, since the advent of democracy, we've been instrumental in restoring stability in countries such as Côte d'Ivoire, Burundi, South Sudan, Lesotho. More recently, we've been part of the SADC peacekeeping mission in Mozambique that has brought relative calm and stability to the Cabo Delgado province. The presence of South African peacekeepers in the eastern DRC is testament to our continued commitment to peaceful resolution of one of the world's most intractable conflicts that has gone on for years and that has cost millions of lives and displaced many people. Now, we call on all parties to embrace the current diplomatic efforts to find a peaceful resolution, including honoring the Luanda process. We will attend the joint summit between SADC and the East African Community scheduled to take place in Tanzania this weekend, where we will reiterate our call for a ceasefire and a resumption of talks to find a just and enduring solution, and we will make sure that our boys, our soldiers do come back home. We have always believed that the freedom that we won and the international solidarity from which we benefited does impose a duty on us to support the struggles of those who continue to experience colonialism and oppression. South Africa continues to stand in solidarity with the people of Palestine, who have endured decades of illegal occupation and are now experiencing indescribable suffering. And South Africa has acted in accordance with its obligations under the Genocide Convention by instituting proceedings against Israel in the International Court of Justice. We are fully committed to the articles of the United Nations, including the principles that all members should settle their international disputes by peaceful means. We support the principle of respect of the territorial integrity and sovereignty of all states and peoples. We continue to participate in the different peace processes seeking to bring about a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. South African delegations have been instrumental in developing a framework for negotiations towards a just peace in Ukraine based on the UN Charter and international law. Our country continues to advance its agenda of cooperation and multilateralism through its membership of the United Nations, the African Union, the Non-Aligned Movement, BRICS, and a number of other international bodies. As humanity confronts unprecedented challenges, we are determined that a reformed and representative United Nations must be at the center of global affairs, and we will continue to push for progress on the reform of the UN Security Council to be a more inclusive, more effective body that is able to ensure peace and security. And we will work to ensure that the needs of the people of the world are advanced. And the work that we do and what we stand for does need to be explained to many key players, especially to our trading partners and the many countries and leaders that we interact with on the global stage. And with a view of explaining the positions that we have taken, and in particular, the objectives that we wish to achieve during our presidency of the G20, I have decided to send a delegation of government and other leaders to various capitals on our continent across the world. This delegation will interact with various key players on a variety of matters that affect South Africa's interests. I will direct that they leave as soon as possible to interact with various key players on our continent and in the world, so that our presidency of the G20 objectives can be well explained. All these things that we speak of are possible. As South Africans, we know the power of cooperation, of what is possible when people of different backgrounds, different races, cultures, languages, and ethnic groups and religions come together behind a shared objective. The formation of the Government of National Unity provides us with an opportunity to show once again that we can achieve what we can achieve by working together. And I call on all South Africans, united in our diversity, to come together in the national dialogue that we are going to have to define a vision for our country for the next 30 years. The national dialogue must be a place where everyone has a voice. It must be a place to find solutions that make a real difference in people's lives. The dialogue must reaffirm that each and every one of us has a role to play in building the nation that we want. We must therefore be builders and not people who seek to destroy the future of South Africans. While we may differ on many issues, we agree on one thing, that we need to build a better South Africa and improve the well-being of our people, and that we should do so not by sitting on the sidelines and shouting. We should be in the scrum working to develop the lives of our people. And so, as we enter the new era in the world and in our own country, let us speak of empathy, of compassion that we have for one another. Let us speak of the pride that we have of our country and all that we have achieved. Let us speak of the determination that won us freedom and drives us forward now to a better future. With this determination, we will work together to make this an era of growth, of progress and transformation. We will work together to build the nation that we want, and we will only be able to do it by working together and not by shouting together. And we will only be able to do it by ensuring that we as the leaders ensure that those who will come after us, our children and our great children, inherit a country that we have helped to build, not to destroy. Thank you very much.
The House has not yet adjourned.
I thank the Honorable, the President. Order, Honorable members. After I have adjourned the joint sitting, members should rise and remain at their places until the procession has left the chamber. The guests in the gallery should remain seated until the judiciary has left, and the ushers will indicate when the doors are open. The procession led by the usher of the Black Rod and the acting Sergeant-at-Arms will leave the chamber in the following order: the Speaker of the National Assembly, the Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the President, the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, the Deputy President, the Secretary to Parliament. That concludes the business for the day, and the joint sitting is adjourned. Okay. Honorable members, just one announcement. As you would recall that earlier on the changes were made with regards to the venue. Members are requested to join their spouse at the ICC. Dinner will be served and the beverages. Thank you very much.
And of course, that is the end of the State of the Nation address as delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And of course, processions are leaving now, and that is the mace and the black rod. Of course, the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Ms. Refilwe Mthweni-Tsipane, outlined how the processions would leave, and she said that it would be the Speaker of the National Assembly, followed by herself, and then the one of the delegation, of course, of Parliament. Of course, we see the STP there, and of course all the President and the Deputy President will follow, and then guests, and of course all members.
As we had said earlier on as well, that the State of the Nation address is an opportunity for the President to set priorities for that year that he's delivering the State of the Nation address. And this year, what came out for me is also his commitment to economic growth, where he committed that there will be 100 billion that will be set aside for black-owned business and businesses owned by women as part of the transformation fund that is going to be established to fund these small businesses. And also, he also made a commitment that they will women entrepreneurs will be trained so that they can also compete for tenders, so that they also get to participate in the economy, and we create an economy that is inclusive to vulnerable members also for our society, meaning the disabled people.
And of course, on your screen right now is members singing, of course, and obviously happy with the president, what the president had to outline. Of course, this is a yearly thing that we see, that after the State of the Nation address, members will break out in song in much of a celebration of the way that the president has paved for the year ahead. Of course, like Masefo said, there are some priorities that the president has outlined, including combating unemployment and ensuring that municipalities work optimally. Of course, then we are done. This was the much anticipated State of the Nation address, and we are now waiting for members to make their way out to hear their reactions as to what they think of what the president had to say. Now, obviously, we have to think about what is it that members have to say, especially members of the opposition.
Yes.
What reactions are they going to have? And of course, you can stay tuned to Parliament TV, and we will have those reactions for you. And it's going to happen outside at the City Hall right here in Cape Town.
And they can see Minister of Sports there, also Mr. Gayton McKenzie, as well there as the members are exiting the City Hall.
That is outside the Cape Town City Hall. Beautiful. And obviously that is the motorcade for the president and all the VVIPs. Of course, reactions, we're waiting for them, and members are there. And of course, let's hear what they have to say. And we'll be crossing over to Tembinkosi, who's right outside with the members. Let's hear some reactions.
Thank you, Tsepo and Masiko. I'm standing outside the Cape Town City Hall. The President has just concluded his State of the Nation address. We're now going to be getting reactions from the members of Parliament. And standing with me is the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, Mr. Velenkosi Hlapisa. Mhlekazi, siyabuleka kakhulu for uthetha no Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's address, please?
Yeah, what emerged is that South Africa must be a construction site. If South Africa can become a construction site, this will create job opportunities, infrastructure will be maintained, and he spoke much that if we want to make South Africa work, let us make the local government work. I will be championing the white paper review, as the President has tabled it, that it needs to change the setup of our country, and the funding model of our municipalities is what is going to make our municipalities work, because more resources must be injected to our municipalities so that they become functional. That is where economy must be injected. That is where investment must be done. Once they are functional, there will be an attraction point for investment in our country. Thank you.
Well, viewers, that was Mr. Velenkosi Hlapisa, the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, who was sharing his views on what the president had to say, especially in relation to turning the country into a construction site and capacitating the municipalities. We're standing here, like I said, outside the Cape Town City Hall. We're getting reactions from the members of parliament. So we'll be walking around trying to see if we can get more of these members to talk to us. The president has outlined quite very critical issues, especially in relation to infrastructure development in the country, and as well as turning the country into a construction site. But for now, as I'm busy looking for people to talk to, we'll just cross back quickly to the studio, but we will be bringing you more reflections on the State of the Nation address. Back to the studio for now.
The first State of the Nation address of the 7th term of Parliament will be held on Thursday, 6 February, followed by 2 days of debate on 11 and 12 February, concluding with the reply by the President on 13 February. The State of the Nation address, commonly referred to as Sona, is one of the most important annual events in the parliamentary calendar. It is an integral part of Parliament's oversight function over the executive. Watch the address live across Parliament's platforms at 7 p.m. Follow Parliament on social media and join the conversation using hashtag Sona2025. Your Parliament, your voice, your future.
South Africa's Parliament will proudly host the 11th G20 Parliamentary Speakers Summit, known as the P20, bringing together leaders from G20 national parliaments to shape global policies and reinforce parliamentary oversight in international decision-making. As the first African country to lead the P20, South Africa's Parliament is championing Africa's active participation in global governance and economic policymaking, ensuring the continent is a driving force in shaping the future we want. Parliament will play a critical oversight role, ensuring that South Africa's commitments as G20 president translate into real economic growth, job creation, and social development. The P20 summit will embed African perspectives in global decision-making, ensuring that policies on trade, technology, and governance reflect the continent's needs and aspirations. In alignment with Sona 2025's theme, harnessing parliamentary diplomacy for the realization of global solidarity, equality, and sustainability, Parliament is committed to fostering international collaboration for a better, more just world. Your Parliament, your voice, your future.
Has concluded his first State of the Nation address for the 7th administration, the first under the government of national unity, and those are the cars leaving after the address. And of course, members singing outside, these are the members of Umkhonto Wesizwe, and of course this is something that we're used to in terms of singing when members come out of the chamber.
And also, you know, one of the things that I took out from the speech is the president's commitment to expanding early childhood development. That now we need to move early childhood development from being a place where children, you drop them off so that they can play the whole day. It's now going to be formalized in a sense that all early childhood development centers must be registered. And remembering also that recently Parliament passed the Bella Bill, now which is the Bella Act, where now even grade R has now been formalized, that children, it is criminal for a parent not to enroll their children now for grade R. And also the other thing that's also interesting is that now introducing the mother tongue based bilingual education to improve numeracy and literacy, because research has proved that children learn better if they learn in the language that they use as mother tongue in the home. It gets to improve their performance in their academic activities.
And of course, those are the cars outside, and Temikosi is outside getting some reactions. Let's get to hear what some of the members have to say about what the president presented.
Thank you very much, Seppo and Maseko. I'm now standing with Dr. Kone Melda of the Freedom Front Plus. Dr. Melda, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's State of the Nation address, please?
Yes, my honest view is I think the President missed a very important opportunity. Tonight, as far as I'm concerned, would have been his most important speech as President. I wanted to hear a reset and a completely new approach with regard to the government of national unity. I did not hear that. What we heard was the same recipe we've heard in the past. Lots of funds, lots of projects, lots of promises, lots of ideals, but nothing in practice. The practice and the data that people experience are not showing any of those things. And obviously it was more the President of the ANC tonight speaking than the President and leader of the government of national unity. That's unfortunate.
What do you think the President could have said better?
Well, basically he should have really redirected himself in terms of giving the right direction in terms of the government of national unity as the driving force. The government of national unity was used tonight, as far as I'm concerned, to brag with the good performances of some of the ministers from the opposition side, and then in the end just to say we've got to stick together, and that's not good enough.
Dr. Melda, thank you very much for talking to us. That was Dr. Kone Melda of the Freedom Front Plus. I want to see if we can speak to next. There's quite a lot of activity, a lot of media houses here, so we are fighting over the interviews of these members of parliament. So we're walking around trying to see who we can talk to as Parliament TV. We're moving now slowly towards Dr. Tron Shope, but we're going to have to wait a little bit for him to speak to other media houses, but we will be bringing you, like I said, all the reflections from the members who've been sitting in the House and waiting for the President to deliver the State of the Nation address. Now that the President is done, let's see if we cannot speak to Mr. Anthol Trollip, maybe just to get a bite. Let's see if we can't get a bite from Mr. Trollip. Mr. Trollip, thank you very much. This is Parliament TV.
Where are you from?
I'm from Parliament TV. Can we get your reflections?
Yabona ke umongameli uphinde wasibalisela insomi. You know, it's almost as if Cyril Ramaphosa is an observer or an invigilator about this government. He doesn't really understand that he's the president of this government. Keeps telling us about things he's going to do, about funds that they're going to develop, about graduates that they're going to employ. He tells us that we're going to invest a lot of money in infrastructure. Now, there were some good numbers around infrastructure investment. I like that, and maintenance of infrastructure. But then if you think about it, if you think about Sunrail, if you think about PRASA, if you think about the fact that our rail infrastructure doesn't work, even in the city of Cape Town, staff that work in my office cannot catch the trains because they're unreliable. And he said, we will get you to work on time safely. Doesn't work, doesn't happen. So he can talk about what is going to happen in the future. The problem is that we live today. South Africans live today. They want to see an improvement. He spoke about local government, about getting competent, capable people in local government. That's exactly where the problem is. Why? Because the ANC have appointed incompetent, incapable, corrupt cadres at local government level. And that's why our municipalities are bankrupt. People don't pay service delivery, like Eskom and water boards, and they are crippling them. And that's why we're running out of water and did run out of electricity. Eskom, the Auditor General today said that Eskom is crippled financially. So these are the travails that face South Africans every day, and I would have liked to have seen the President say, we have a place that is a shining city that we can refer to that it's going to be like that, but they don't have one. We have one, Action SA, in Tshwane. We're turning Tshwane around, and we will be able to point to Tshwane in 2026. Sikombe sithi kulapho khona kulawula Action SA.
Well, that was Mr. Anthol Trollip of the Action SA, and standing with me now is the President of the African Transformation Movement, Mr. Vuyo Zungula. Mr. Zungula, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's speech, please?
Mhlekazi wami, you know, into funeka siyithethe ebantwini. Umnumzana uRamaphosa isona yestand eyenza lena. kumnandi ukuza apha abantu banxibe kakuhle wonke umuntu athethe ngayo isona kodwa umbuzo ufuneka sizibuze wona ukuba ikwimpilo zabantu phaa ezilalini phaa nezilokishini abantu bangathathi intweni ingaba usukela ngo-2018 umhlekazi wangena elawulweni. What has been the difference? Because we find that as a country we get to be excitable about small things, about little things. This is the 10th Sona has been presenting. But if you look at unemployment, poverty, crime, they've ever been increasing. So for us as a party, we are not excited, we are not moved because the people of the country are condemned to lawlessness, to crime, to load shedding as we speak. So there's nothing to celebrate, there's nothing to take home about this particular Sona.
Intoni ocumba mhlawumbe umongameli bekufanele buyithethile binokwanelisa.
Mhlekazi wam, umnumzana uRamaphosa akufunekanga athethe kakhulu engaqala aphendule ukuba kwezi zinto ebezithethile kulo nyaka ophelileyo zintoni into azenzayo. Befana uyasho ukuba ndandithe ngonyaka othile kuzoba khona i-bullet train ikhona, ndandithe kuba kuzoba khona i-smart city sikhona, ndandithe kuzokwenzeka lena ikhona. But in the absence of him accounting on his previous promises, it would be foolish for people to think or to have hope in terms of what is promising now for the future. Thank you.
That was Mr. Vuyo Zungula, the president of the African Transformation Movement, ATM, expressing his views on the president's speech. As I had said, we will be walking around throughout the evening trying to get reflection from members. There's a lot of media houses here, but let us walk that side to see if maybe we cannot grab one member. I see there's Mr. Subrati there. Maybe we can see if we can talk to Mr. Subrati. Would you mind to talking to Parliament TV, sir? All right, thank you very much. I'm standing with Mr. Imran Subrati, an ANC MP. Mr. Subrati, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Can we get your reflections on the President's address, please?
I think the President's speech was a real masterpiece. It was a speech of unity. It was a speech of looking beyond those things that divide us and focusing on those things that unite us. The President certainly was no pushover. He demonstrated firmness against the responses of what we're getting from internationally vis-a-vis Trump, etc. The President was resolute that we will work through this. He provided significant progressive changes. He advanced, he continued to advance the aspect of buildup, of the NHI. So it was certainly a well-polished, lots of economic boost, job creation, housing creation. I think exactly what we wanted. It's particularly what I was impressed about is the transformation fund of 20 billion rand per annum, which is really going to allow us and those small businesses that could not access the economy, because one of our key priorities is to build an inclusive economy, and that transformation fund will allow those players to enter the market. So certainly, I left very inspired. Our president has certainly made us proud.
Now that the president has outlined government's plan for the year, what are you planning to do in order to hold then the executive to account?
Well, you know, as an ANC, we go into a lechotla from the 14th to the 16th. And we've been waiting for the president's plan of action as he's outlined today. So certainly, we're going to factor that into our caucus plans for the next 12 months and certainly for the next, until the period of this presidency, until this period. So certainly, we're going to be hard at work to ensure that we painstakingly map a way out to achieve that which the president wanted us, and certainly those who will be charged to driving that agenda is the executives. So certainly accountability will be crucial for us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Subrati. Let's see if we can steal a word from Minister of Health, Mr. Aaron Motsoaledi, while he waits for the other interview. Mr. Motsoaledi, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. If you can just share your reflections on the President's address with our viewers, please.
Well, for my side in health, I'm very happy. Very, very happy, I must say, because he has mentioned all the important things. Number one, that we are forging ahead with the implementation of NHI, and that we are going to have massive infrastructure to improve the public healthcare system. This is what has been lacking over many years, but also to tackle the biggest disease that the country is troubled by. The biggest contagious disease, that's HIV and AIDS, that we are going to start to launch a program that we are launching on the 25th of February to look for 1.1 million additional people who must be put on ARVs. Those are the things he has announced, and we are very happy with that.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that reflection. That was the Minister of Health, Minister Aaron Motsoaledi. We are still here outside the City Hall, and we're trying to get as much reflections as we can from the members of Parliament. But like I say, yeah, it's a grab because there are a lot of media houses that are here. So now and again, I will be stepping some of the members, and I'm standing with the leader of the United Transformation Movement.
Yes.
Africa, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV. Can we get your reflection on the President's address, please?
No, thank you so much. I think the President wanted to balance. He was leaning towards right, leaning towards left, wanted to balance, to be in the center. But the most important thing, which was our expectation, the issue of DRC. When is our kids coming back? Don't say they are coming back. When? Put the families and the nation into confidence, because they still have questions in terms of this mission. How does South Africa benefit from them? At least all you can do is to tell us, when is our kids coming back? Our soldiers must come back to the families. I'm talking about the fallen soldiers, even the ones who are still alive, even the injured ones. And then the second point was the issue of Expropriation Act, which UAT, we don't support the act. But now, because it's into law, I was expecting him to talk into a program of action and give us timelines in terms of how they want to implement it, and so that we know that now maybe there's a reason why even the rights wings are complaining about it. So yes.
The President has also promised to turn the country to a construction site. Can we hear your view on that, please?
In his first Sona as a president, he promised to build us a city, a smart city that will create employment, infrastructure, and increase our economy. Did he do that? All these things are just promises. So I don't believe in what he's saying. He's one of the best in terms of articulation, but he never implements. So all the beautiful things that he just said now, he's not going to do them, because we're only having a year. Next year we'll come up with another story. But it's better this time he did not come up with a new character movie of the Nzwalo and them. We're expecting Thabo and Sello somewhere, but we are yes.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Kanimambo.
Kanimambo, that was the leader of the United Transformation Movement, giving us his reflections on what the President had to say, and emphasizing on the issue of the DRC and wanting to know when will they be coming back to South Africa, those soldiers, those who have passed on and those who are still alive. As I had said, we'll be walking around. We'll still have to bring you more reflections. But now, let's just cross back to the studio.
Some mixed reactions there, of course, with the President's State of the Nation address, some of them describing it as a masterpiece, and some, of course, saying that it was just unfulfilled promises, a regeneration of what he has promised in his previous State of the Nation's address. Of course, we had Mr. Buya Zungula, who is the president of the ATM, and we had Mr. Ethel Trollip from Action SA, and they had the same sentiments, or similar sentiments, in terms of the president's promises. Of course, Mr. Zungula said that at this point, the president should be able to say that we promised infrastructure, this is what we've done this year. We promised electricity, this is what we have done this year. We promised that water and sanitation would be a priority, and these are the projects that we've implemented. Unfortunately, he feels that the president failed to do that, and that is some of the sentiments from Mr. Ethel Trollip as well from Action SA. He did, however, love the promise on infrastructure development, especially when it comes to railway.
Yes, and also coming back just to add on to say that, which goes back to the responsibility of Parliament to conduct oversight over the executive, to say, this is what you promised this year and where are you with these promises. And also one of my take-homes was also where he also saying that they are going to build, government is going to build more housing in the city centers and so that people are closer to work and business opportunities, so that people get to live in areas of their choice and not areas where they can afford. Basically saying that they're going to redesign the housing subsidies and direct more funding towards programs that enable people to buy or rent a home in an area of their choice. And we know how much a rental can be expensive. And again, the transport cost of commuting between your where you work and where you stay also becoming an extra cost, and in these times, difficult economic times. So now, and also that they will also release, this will be facilitated by them releasing underutilized state properties so that they can be built to create housing development. I think this is one of my best take-homes, to say that people now will have an opportunity to live in areas of their choice.
And of course, then my takeaway was definitely the fight against gender-based violence and femicide. And the President did say that sexual offence courts will be established this financial year. And that is something that I'm excited about, especially because this means that government has committed itself in ensuring that we combat gender-based violence and femicide. Of course, it coincides with some other social development ills, social ills, such as unemployment, such as poverty. And he did speak about economic growth and employment and the importance of ensuring that there is employment and that there is economic growth. I hear that Temi Nkosi has somebody for us. Let's hear some of those reactions from members right outside the City Hall.
Welcome back. I am now standing with the leader of Action SA, Mr. Herman Mashaba. Mr. Mashaba, good evening and thank you for talking to Parliament TV. Can you give us your reflection on the President's address, please?
My personal reflection was listened for almost 1.5 hours with the President that actually failed to really inspire me. And firstly, as a privileged South African, because I take myself privileged because I'm able to really feed myself and my family. In the meantime, the President is talking about 28 million South Africans being recipients of grants for them to put bread on the table. He wants us to celebrate this. In a country of just over 60 million people, almost half of South Africans, for them to be able to put bread on their table, they have to rely on grants. And that's what our President expects us to celebrate. We sit in a country with complete non-existent of our borders. I don't know how many millions of undocumented South Africans who are going into communities, the poor communities, with people who live in deplorable conditions, taking their businesses, giving them rotten, expired goods. Never address those matters that are affecting our people in Amanskral, here in Gugulethu, because it looks like the black communities in this country are not actually the beneficiaries of this new the government of national unity. We thought with the government having almost 70% support, they will start coming out with programs that can actually benefit the poorest of the poor. It looks like that was not really in the agenda of the President, because he's expecting us to celebrate failures. Because, I mean, if you can imagine, you live in a country where half of your people actually live with social grants, and it's something that you celebrate. Our President celebrates a failure instead of actually saying to South Africans, we know you, we hear you, we see you. We will come out with programs to address poverty in your country. You know how we easily do it in this country? We're one of the countries in the world, if not the only country in the world, with factories in Amanskral, Babelech industrial area where I was born and raised, Garankuwa industrial area where I started Black Lung Meat in January of 1985, Kwandebele, Twatwa. Those factories are lying empty, they are being vandalized. Instead of actually creating an environment where we can reopen these factories, the city of Johannesburg, just as an example, taken over by criminal syndicates, when our people live in squalor, in what today we call informal settlements, squatter camps, our people live on top of one another with no basic services like toilets. We're not addressing those issues. We are allowing international drug syndicates and cartels coming into our country, destroy the lives of our youth. Never heard the president talking about this. I don't really believe there's any family in this country, particularly for us as black families, where our youth are not affected by drugs. For the president, nothing to talk about that in the State of the Nation address. These are the issues that you've got to touch about. It's not about the good English you speak. It's about actually addressing the lived experience of our people. That's what the political system actually should be, or political leaders should really provide that leadership.
Mr. Mashaba, thank you very much for talking to Parliament TV.
Thank you so much.
Well, that was Mr. Herman Mashaba, the leader of Action SA, sharing his frustrations with the president's speech, also indicating that the president could have said better when he was delivering the speech. Like I said, we're still here outside the Cape Town City Hall, where the president had concluded with his speech, had concluded talking to us, and right now, just for the sake of our viewers, please introduce yourself and then share your views with us.
Sure, I'm obviously a journalist. Obviously, we heard about water and sanitation. We're standing outside City Hall, and all we can smell is a reeking drainage system. I mean, what do you say about that? But I mean, overall, we've heard. We are every single year. So let's see change and actions. That's all.
Thank you very much. As one of our journalist colleagues sharing his views with Parliament TV. I'm now standing with Stephen Letsike, the Deputy Minister for Women, Youth and Persons Living with Disabilities. Ma'am, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Can you please share your reflections on the President's speech, especially in relation to your department? If I listened carefully, he mentioned it almost 10 times.
Absolutely. Look, we are super excited that this State of Nation address was humbling to bring a nation that works for all, a nation that actually wants to repair the oppressive and injustices that have left women behind. Of course, what the president is saying, everyone matters, men, women in all their diversity, but we are also going to correct the systematic things like patriarchy that has consistently put women at the receiving end. Women, young people, where they must be economically active. They must be in education sector, they must be in training, they must build, we must build their skills. We want all of it to be responded to. But what is the crux of it? President is saying we leave no women, we leave no youth, no person with disability. And there were practical things that were at play. The Public Procurement Act, that is very clear. The regulation that will be set that all the businesses led by women, youth and persons with disability will be participating and will be included financially. Secondly, Transformation Fund. That is quite important for us, particularly for black-owned businesses, and that we make sure that they actively participate, but at the same time, NEFSA's allocation for persons with disability. Gone are the days where vulnerable groups and marginalized groups will be left, particularly persons with disability, where opportunities of education are denied because of the differently abled. And we are there to monitor it. We are there to actively make sure that it's fully integrated with clear targets, and our midterm development plan stipulates it very much. So President has spoken lengthily around it. One thing I want to also mention, gender-based violence was also at the heart of this. You know, we know exactly the challenges of the pandemic, the challenge generally of violence in our country. We want a peaceful South Africa, and our administration is ready to contribute to the peaceful South Africa. Women, youth, children, and also persons with disability and LGBTI, which was also mentioned by President, that they will live freely. We will make sure that the prevention efforts as stipulated in our national strategic plan are implemented adequately. He has set aside a contribution towards the establishment of the Gender-Based Violence Council, and our role as a department is to amplify and make sure it happens, including making sure that the rapid response team is adequately implemented.
And we know that it's this time of the year where many students flood the institutions of higher learning, some trying to get admission, some facing financial and academic exclusions. We are aware, we've seen the reports on the newspapers of students that are sleeping in corridors, that are sleeping in libraries, that are sleeping in SRC offices. What do you think can be done to assist those students?
Indeed, you are correct. These are young people. This is the future of the country that is experiencing this. And in fact, when you look at even the number of students that have written matric and that have matriculated, and in fact also the challenge that sits with how much space is available. 200,000 availability of space will also lock out a number of our young people, and neither will they be in employment, education and training. That worries us. But already there are efforts that are led by the Higher Education and Training Department. We've been working with the department. We started already at the beginning of the year working hand in hand with the department to say, where are the young people? How do we make sure that they also are actively participating? We work with the associations of students, the Congress of Students that are organizing to make sure the accommodation, which is also quite important, reasonable accommodation, but also making sure that NAFSAS can actually distribute the funds to make sure the students can adequately get assistance. We do know the challenges that are there, but we want society, we want parents, we want students to work hand in hand with government to make sure we respond adequately to the issues.
I'm glad that you've also mentioned the issue of NSFAS, because I believe that NSFAS have a capped amount of 45,000 for student accommodation, but we do know how expensive this student accommodation can be, which sometimes even leave those NSFAS beneficiaries with student debt from the universities, which arise from the cost of accommodation. What do you think can be done to try and mitigate this allocation of funds to the students?
Precisely, you are spot on. And I think if we listened carefully to what President Ramaphosa has stipulated, he also spoke about the issue and the situation of housing. Not only just for the students, but even by virtue of where the economic hubs are. Many of the people who works in these cities don't live in the cities. And he touched on making use of public infrastructure. The buildings that belongs to government must actually transform into accommodation, affordable accommodation. We know student accommodation is not enough. These young people cannot be left to fend for themselves. We have to do it fast. So the Minister of Human Settlement has got the task to deliver, together with the municipalities, metros and provinces, to make sure that affordable accommodation is accessible even by students in the cities. People don't have to travel far to get to the place of work, also to get to a place of study.
Ms. Letsika, thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV.
I appreciate it.
Well, that was Ms. Stephen Letsika, Deputy Minister in the Presidency responsible for women, youth and persons living with disabilities. Sir, good afternoon. Thank you very much for talking to us at Parliament TV. Sir, can you get your reflection, please?
Yeah, I thought that the speech was a very balanced speech. The President really came across very strongly in terms of of certain issues that he feels very strongly about, especially if you look at the issue of crime in our country, the issue of the infrastructure, where he spoke about a large sum of money that's going to go into the infrastructure development, and also he spoke about the issue of job creation, which is very, very important. If we can address job creation, then of course we'll bring down the crime levels. We'll address the social ills in our country. But I think what is very crucial is now, after he has made all of these promises, we need to now have oversight, and that is where the National Council of Provinces come in, where we'll actually have a look at how he rolls them out. Yeah.
And that was what you had just said. That was going to bring me to my next question, because I wanted to know that now that the President has outlined government's priorities for the year, what is the National Council of Provinces going to do in order to hold the executive to account and also to ensure that the pronouncements made by the president are implemented in the provinces?
Well, one of the things that was lacking in the past is effective oversight. And we have already started with the issue of oversight by ensuring that you have the three-sphere planning. Now, once you have the three-sphere planning, then all three levels of government will be working in synergy, not in silos anymore. And once that starts happening, then the oversight becomes so much easier. We are then able to track what was said, where's the budget, and the actual implementation on the ground so that the people benefit eventually. So that's where the NCOP will come in, and we will have our plan. In fact, we've already got our plans in place to ensure that we track whatever was said, and also from any executive statements that come out after this, we will be able to track those.
And also, Sona 2025 happens 2 months after the country assumed the presidency of the G20. How is then the NCOP going to ensure that the G20 activities are infused into the provincial programs?
Well, the G20 is actually going to give us a huge boost in terms of the economy of our country and all the opportunities that are there. And the NCOP is going to feed into that. Not only the G20, but also the P20, where the speakers come together. And we're going to make sure that the NCOP becomes a part of those processes, because the opportunities that are there, we must not lose sight of that, and we must be able to take advantage of those opportunities to benefit the people of our country by ensuring that all these important role players that are coming into the G20 must be able to we must be able to derive benefit from that, and be able to promote our country to such an extent that we can actually ensure that we attract foreign direct investment. And in that way we can grow our economy, because our economy right now is below 1%. And our target is 3%. So the only time we're going to be able to achieve that is by attracting foreign direct investment into our country.
Mr. Governor, thank you very much for talking to Parliament.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. That was Mr. Les Governor, the Deputy Chairperson in the National Council of Provinces, also giving us his reflection from what the President had to say when he was delivering his State of the Nation address. I think from this side of the coverage, we'll have to end it here. And I'm now taking you to my colleagues in the studio, and from my side, a good night.
That was Tembi Kosi on the ground. They're giving us reactions from different members of parliament and members of the executive on their reactions from the State of the Nation address, which was delivered this evening by President Ramaphosa. Just an update on next week events in Parliament. On Tuesday and on Wednesday, the members of Parliament will debate the State of the Nation address. This will be an opportunity for various members of Parliament to unpack the address as the President has delivered it today, and also to pose questions, and also then he will get an opportunity to answer to those questions on Thursday, the 13th of February at 2 p.m. again, and the sittings will be held at the Dome, currently at the New Master Parking, just in front of Parliament buildings, Parliament Precinct. I wanted to say the word precinct. It has been a long evening, Tepo. I must say it's been a long evening, a long day, and it has been a pleasure to work with you and Temkosi. And again, we're dressed by local designers. Yes. I was dressed by Silomidu Piscalo.
And I'm dressed in Mansu by the beautiful Balesa Mukubung. And of course, you can go onto our website for more information on the work of Parliament and the debates next week by using our website, which is www.parliament.gov.za. And of course, if you want to follow and like and subscribe, please do so on all our social media platforms and join the conversation by involving yourself at Parliament of RSA. From us here outside of the Cape Town City Hall, it has been a pleasure. See you next week. Bye-bye.
And have a good evening and good night.